Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Daredevil number 231, cover dated June 1986. This is another excellent cover by David Mazzucchelli. Pencils, inks by him. Love the design here and the intriguing idea of Matt Murdock versus Daredevil. Now we'll find out exactly what lies behind this image inside this comic itself. Love the cover caption as well in magenta, saved there, and the technique of the ink splatter around the bottom and top of the cover page. And also, of course, we have there looming in the cover corner box the massive head of the Kingpin, who's behind all of Matt Murdock's woes in this storyline. So let's open this one up to the first page. There's a great opening to this issue, many great moments in this particular issue, but I love the horizontal panel layout of this page. We have an exterior shot of Fogwell's gym, which is the old neighborhood Hell's Kitchen gym where Matt Murdock's father trained battling Jack Murdock, and where Matt himself trained as a boxer when young. And we get a little zoom in there, and he is working on the punch bag. And then we get an interesting top-down shot on a skyscraper and a boardroom meeting. And it is one that is being chaired by the Kingpin. And it seems that crime is on the rise and profits are up. But one member of the board decides to stand up ill-advisedly, as it will turn out. One moment, Mr. Fisk, he says, "There's nobody in this room who would question your authority or your judgment, Mr. Fisk. Nonetheless, certain allocations of personnel and funds have come to the attention of the board. And well, sir, there's been a lot of talk about Matt Murdock because the Kingpin is obsessed by Murdock, who he tried to kill and who has somehow survived. There was no body found." Love the rendering of the drapery on the suits of these men around the boardroom table. Notice there are no women in this boardroom. And then we get a shot of Matt dancing around on the floor of the gym and punching that punching bag there, and we have our sound effects as well. Great opening sequence, and we're going to get the boardroom and the gym cutting. We're going to have the scenes cutting between these two locations. So another similar layout of all horizontal panels cutting back and forth between the boardroom and the gym, and the guy continues. Now, an occasional vendetta brings a personal touch too, and he hesitates to business. It's good for building enthusiasm, but like I said, there's been a lot of talk, and well, you know how important worker confidence is. We're just asking you to explain. So the Kingpin there, he's having his massive cigar lit for him. Murdock is working out in the gym. He's having such success that he's moving the bag itself. And the Kingpin, presumably after a pause, says and replies, "Mr. Switzer, this is a check for the current market value of your shares in the conglomerate. Take it or your family dies. You're all dismissed." So that's the end of that meeting. And then Wesley, the Kingpin's factotum, says, "Mr. Switzer has a weekend in Colorado planned. He skis." And then I've always loved this bit where the Kingpin comes back and says, "Compound fracture, both legs." So the guy is not going to get away scot-free. He's going to have his legs broken, and that's going to send a message to all the other members of the conglomerate, exactly never to question the Kingpin. There's Matt working away on the bag, and he knocks it right off onto the floor. So that is an indication that he's back to full health after nearly dying in the previous issue from pneumonia. So there's our cover caption now, the title of the story, Saved. And our creative team here by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli. Max Shield on colours, that's Christy Shield on colours, Joe Rosen on letters. And what a great creative team this is. So then we pick up with Ben Urich, and he's finally decided to tell the story of what happened to Nick Manoli and start talking about Matt Murdock and how he's been framed. So he's here in the police station Love the detail of the steam coming off the coffees, the pizza box here with some slices eaten. It's really well done. And Ben is talking. Nick was going to confess that he helped the Kingpin frame Matt Murdock. The Kingpin had Nick killed to shut him up. I can't tell you why the Kingpin was in it for Murdock. Has it in for Murdock, rather. And that's because Ben could tell them, because Matt Murdock is Daredevil. But he says here to himself, Matt, they'd put me in the drunk tank if I tried to tell them about you, about how you were struck across the eyes and blinded by a radioactive isotope, how your remaining senses were heightened. Suppose I told them, Matt, that you can tell if someone's lying by the sound of a heartbeat, that you can read a printed page by feeling the impression of the ink with your fingertips. And I love the juxtaposition of this as Yorick is thinking about Matt's heightened senses, and here Matt is picking up a paper from a public bin and precisely reading the print about the story in the Daily Bugle of a cop strangled in a hospital bed. So he knows that that Yorick is, well, number one, it's a Ben Yorick story, but that Ben is writing a 6-part series on the Kingpin of crime. So Matt knows that obviously means Ben is going to be a target of the Kingpin. And so what shall he do? Really love the art here in this little panel where Matt is saying nothing, and the inking here is with a brush. So Mazzucchelli, you can see his creative process. If you search for his pencil pages online, you can see that the pencils are a little bit loose sometimes, and then he works in the details when he's inking, and inking with a brush here, as I said, which takes some skill and confidence. So here's Ben leaving the police station. Love the drapery on the coats that they're wearing as well. No, I don't tell them all that, but whatever I do say is enough to convince them to graft a 6-foot Swede to my hip. I wish I could tell you I feel safer with Officer Hegerfors. It's not like having you along, Matt. Nothing is. And then Matt is along with him. That's really great, as he's there kind of leaning back in a doorway at the side of the police station. But if you look at the police officer here, his kind of model seems to be used again by David Mazzucchelli in Batman Year One for Officer Flass. So if you check out Batman issue 404, you'll see what I mean in terms of the visual similarity between the two police officers. So what's happening here in the Kingpin's headquarters? Well, Lois, the huge nurse that strangled and killed Manoli, is there complaining. She said, I did a fine job of killing Manoli, and for this I'm relocated to Arizona. What, pray tell, am I going to do with myself in Arizona? So the Kingpin's secretary there says, I assure you this displacement is of a temporary nature. Yorick's sudden acquisition of guts is cause for organization-wide concern. And Lois says, if Mr. Yorick is the problem, let me relocate him. Let's turn the page. And that gets the guy up out of his chair. He says, not to be considered, Lois, as per direct command from, but she's not listening and she's heading out the door. And I love the way the coat is kind of billowing there as she's rushing out the doorway. And then the scene switches to a Manhattan diner. We move inside. There's Yorick with his bodyguard. And who's in the other booth except for Matt, and he's listening there, drinking the coffee. So Ben says, look, I'd better call my wife, tell her we've got company tonight. So he gets on the phone to his wife Doris. She's doing the hoovering there. Love this screen tone print that Mazzucchelli has found for the pattern of her dress as well. And she's there on the phone talking to her husband. I don't care what the man said, Ben. He's our guest and it won't take a minute to fix him a proper bed. So, but there's a knock at the door. She looks out the peephole and look who it is. It is Doris, and that's really well done there. The bending of the perspective in the peephole by Mazzucchelli. So Lois here says, Mrs. Yorick, it's your husband. It's very bad. Now she's just been on the phone to him. So why on earth does she open the door, or how does the nurse get in through the door? 40 minutes on the subway. I blocked them out. This is Ben Urich's first person narration. So he's there knocking on the door. Open up, doll, he says. It's me. Probably got the washer running. He kind of explains to the Swede. And then he says, took months to convince her to keep the door locked. She's from Idaho, tends to trust people. And then this is just a great sequence coming up here. So he comes in the door and Lois is there waiting. She heard him knocking at the door and calling at the door. She thumps him straight in the stomach. That wins him. He's on the ground, but his only thought is for his wife. Meanwhile, his bodyguard there is pulling the gun out of its holster, and she's grabbed him by the wrist and smashes him into the wall there. But look at this. Urich his only thought is for his wife. Like, this is a really, really affecting and effective scene, and he can hear a voice coming from inside the bathroom, and he knows it's his wife. So she's alive, but what condition is she in? And this is a great page turn. Turn the page here. Look at this. This is absolutely brutal stuff. So she's she's hung from the shower head. And you can just see the look on Urich's face, and he's panicked and he's trying to hold her up. And outside, Lois is taking out the 6-foot Swede bodyguard, and then she gets a shock. She was about to say what, and she's punched out, and we recognize that jacket and those gloves. But Urich in the bathroom, he's panicking. He's fishing around for the razor blade here on the sink. Just great work here, great storytelling, amazing flow. We go this way, down, and here. Really great stuff by Mazzucchelli, and so horrifying, so brutal as well. And then this is a great sequence here. Matt saying absolutely nothing, the same way that Elektra used to operate, saying nothing, just down to business. Knocks the handgun out of her hand with one kick, and then with the other he hits her right in the jaw up against the wall. Really effective fighting and fight choreography there. Fighting from Matt Murdock, and amazing fight choreography from Mazzucchelli. So here's Urich, and he's there with the razor blade, and he saves his wife. So Matt doesn't do this. He does it. He cuts the cord. She falls to the ground. She's alive. But look at Urich's face there. Just look at the horror and the realization that she could have died right in my own home, he repeats. Just an amazing sequence, so memorable. And then he goes out into the entrance, back out towards the door of the apartment building. The phone is ringing there, and I love this. I love the way that Frank Miller creates this dialogue for Ben. I stand there for a full minute, holding the razor with no idea how to use it, before I notice the handcuffs and her broken jaw. It sinks in. Matt, you're alive. So Urich, he was out there with the razor. He was going to try his best to take on Lois, but she's already been taken care of, and she's handcuffed. So he gets on the phone, he picks up the phone, and who's on the other line except for Melvin Potter. And this is all in connection with the costume he was asked to make by the Kingpin's men at the end of the previous issue. He's got the red cloth out there ready to make that Daredevil costume. Wants to talk to Urich because he's been reading Urich's story in the newspapers, but Urich is shocked. He says he can't meet tonight. No, can't. Talk tonight, tomorrow. And you can see it in his eyes as well. Just great work by Mazzucchelli. But Matt is there outside the doorway of the apartment, listening to everything. And of course, with his heightened senses, he can hear the other end of the phone line. So he knows it's Melvin Potter saying it's a matter of life and death. And then we just have this moment where Ben is hugging, embracing his wife right in my own home. Just really great stuff from Miller. And then another great sequence. Like, this just does not slow down. So Matt is running. So he's running from where Urich lives to Melvin Potter's shop. And then in the meantime, we have this little sequence here in the middle where Kingpin he's personally seeing, this is how obsessed he is, he's personally seeing the psychopath that is going to be put into that Daredevil costume. And the psychiatrist says, I should warn you, he's unpredictable. Kingpin says he will arrange for his release. So up on top of Melvin's costume shop, Matt is on the roof. He's listening to Melvin on the phone, to Miss Betsy, who is his social worker. He's saying, Betsy, please stop asking me how I feel. I don't need you as a therapist. I need to know what to do. So he doesn't know what to do to make the costume, not make the costume. What could it be? He's got delicate mental health himself, Melvin Potter. No, skip all that, he says. You just don't know what I should do. I don't know why I'm speaking with you. Goodbye. So he's putting down the phone, and they're in the front of the shop, just in front of the window, and in silhouette, make the costume. No one will be hurt. And Melvin can't see who it is, but he recognizes the voice. Pleasure to hear your voice, Daredevil. And I love that look of, he does have a look of pleasure on his face and relief. Someone's going to take care of this. This is a great panel here where Foggy's coming in to the bathroom gingerly. Love the reflection of his face there in the bathroom mirror. That's really well done by Mazzucchelli. And we have free and direct discourse here. Karen Page's first person monologue, sick, she's so sick, and it won't stop. Nothing in her stomach, but her body doesn't know that, and she's so sick. Foggy, it seems so stupid with Foggy here. He's part of another world when Karen Page was pretty and innocent, and Foggy's secretary and Matt's. Before the movies and the men and the junk. Another world, she thought she could come back to it. Thought she needed. All she needs is a fix. So she's going through cold turkey withdrawal, and just look at the way that Mazzucchelli renders her face in the coming pages. You can see how haggard she is, how drawn, as she's looking out the window and thinking about how she sold out Matt, sold out his secret identity for one lousy fix, just like a junkie. Foggy couldn't stop me if I jumped right now. So she's suicidal with despair, but looking out the window, she sees Paolo, the guy who gave her the ride from Mexico to the USA all the way to New York, and he's a possessive, jealous psychopath. So she stumbles back from the Venetian blinds. Look at that face on her there as well. So well done by Mazzucchelli. Just sheer fear. And she's there said he'd kill me if I ran out on him. And I did. He's crazy. He'll kill us both. So Foggy goes to lift up the phone. He's going to call the police. And then we have one of the Kingpin's men bringing the psychopath who's been loosed with the costume that Melvin made. And where's he bringing him to? Bringing him to Foggy's apartment. But look who's on top of the car. So Matt is there. He's hearing everything as to the psychopath being deposited in an alley beside an apartment building. You'll climb to the fire escape and enter said building through the roof entrance, which shall be unlocked. You will descent yourself to apartment 5B. Therein you will make use of this here billy club to cause anatomic damage to one Franklin Nelson and whosoever else may habitate the apartment. Said damage is to be of a permanent nature. So Matt jumps off. He knows what the scheme is. Into the snow. It's still midwinter. It's January. There's Paolo. The police arrive because Foggy called them. They see him, of course. Foggy must have given a description. And this is a great sequence. It's like very reminiscent of 1930s gangster movies, which of course would have been a big influence on Frank Miller. Sure, officer, says Paolo, no problem. And then he pulls out this double-barrel shotgun. So we get a shootout there, so well handled by Mazzucchelli. Look at that shot of Paolo there. He starts shooting out the window of Foggy's apartment. And then the Kingpin's goons are out monitoring as well. So they call in the Kingpin. They say, been some action, boss. Freak with a shotgun, H2 cops. Page is still up there. Do we move in? So Kingpin says, stay where you are. If Page or Nelson tries to leave the building, kill them. Do it quickly. There will be more police. And then we're into his mind. Police. I need not arrange for news coverage as I'd planned. Daredevil will be spotted. And Matt Murdock will find his alter ego, charged with the murder of his former partner and best friend. Still, the timing is delicate. My rented psychopath will have to move swiftly. So, is it going to work out for the Kingpin? Well, here is the psychopath in the costume, and he starts hammering with the billy club on the guy who brought him there to the alleyway. So, like, I mean, talk about irony. Look at that maniacal grin on his face. He starts climbing up the external fire escape. Meanwhile, Foggy's still on the phone. Karen's picked up a potted plant. You can see that look of desperation on her face as well, like the blackened bags around her eyes too, her thin lips, and then she whacks him over the head, smashes that pot over his head in order to knock him out cold. And she's there thinking, what's she up to? No hope for me anyway, I'm dead. But Foggy, I can go to Paolo and he won't kill Foggy. Do that much right. So, you know, she's got some conscience. She wants to save Foggy. And then meanwhile, here's this psychopath and he's there hammering on the door on top of the apartment building in which Foggy lives. And just as he's hammering away there, it's not open. Matt's closed it from the inside. He punches him right through the door. This is a fantastic panel here as he kicks him in the chest. Door splintering all around. And Karen's running. Maybe if I talk to Paolo, be nice, he'll just slap me around. Maybe he'll even fix me up. He's always carrying. Crazy junkie. He'll kill you. Think of Foggy. So again, great intercutting of different scenes. Mazzucchelli handling all of this so skillfully. Frank Miller must have been absolutely delighted with the artist he had working from his script here. And then we've got the Kingpin. Listening to the reports coming in. Page just hit the street, boss, we're moving in. So Paolo grabs Karen from out of the alleyway. He smashes her head up against the wall. Kingpin's men get out. They start shooting at him. He grabs her by the hand, running down the alley. Come on, he says. This is great stuff. Really great sequence. Also love the drapery Mazzucchelli's pulling off here as well. And then we have the fight. We've got 2 pages of this fight between Matt and the psychopath in his costume. And so there's all kinds of symbolism going on with this fight. But this guy's just crazy. He's there repeating maniacally 5B, 5B as he smashes Matt with the billy club. But Matt has the skills. Matt was trained by Stick. He's got these skills. Finds a nerve there in the psychopath's wrist, in his neck. Knocks him to the ground. Guy's going for the billy club again. This is all really well paced. Like so well done. And then just kicks him right in the head onto the ground. He's out. But Matt doesn't have any time to relax because he has suddenly caught on to the fact that Karen is there. He remembers her, he recognizes her. He has had no idea that she was in New York City up to this point, but he's heard her voice, something, and he turns around immediately. So Paolo's blasting away there, Kingpin's men blasting back at him. One of them gets shot. Paolo gets shot in the chest. Karen's falling onto the ground. This is all happening so quickly. You know, look at the way that Miller doesn't have any narrative captions here to slow this down. We're flying through this. Fantastic work. And then this is great as well, because if the pacing there was so fast for the action sequence, this is an interesting layout on this page. We've the top tier of 3 panels, second tier of 5, and then the third and final tier of 6 panels. And you get this sense of how things are happening it's almost like slow motion here. So Paolo's on the ground with a chest wound. Karen is there looking for the syringe for the heroin. Dead end alley. Dead end anyway. Doesn't matter. Go for one last fix. One last time. So the Kingpin's man is still shooting at them. Remember, Kingpin wants Karen dead. And here's Matt on the snowy roof, just in silhouette. He's racing there. He knocks off an icicle, perfectly aimed to hit Paolo in the wrist, knocking that gun out of his hand. Matt's picked up the billy club. He uses it with expert aim to knock out the guy who was going to shoot Karen. And in her first person monologue, it's so fantastic for Miller. One last fix. Stop shaking. Find the vein. Won't even feel the bullet. One last. Find the vein. And then she says, I love you, Matt. And so the guy is knocked out. She's in shock. The syringe is on the ground. And get ready for this. This is one of the most excellent page turns. Very, very emotional moment. It's all been building up to it. Turn the page. Look at that. Superb. No words needed. None whatsoever. And there's the syringe on the snow. And I think this is a great choice by Mazzucchelli, where we see her, the side of her face, but Matt's face is covered. It's behind her head. Really, really great. Pencil, ink, great colours by Christy Shield as well. Fantastic. And then we round out with Ben Urich wrapping up, giving us the reports on who died and who lived. And he concludes regarding his wife Doris, well, her neck still hurts and she's taken to wearing a scarf to hide the bruise. But she can talk again and even laugh when I say she sounds like Brenda Vaccaro. And as for me, like I told you, I'm a reporter. I'm going to find out where Matt Murdock is and what he's become. Fantastic. Another 10 out of 10 perfection comic by Miller and Mazzucchelli. Stunning stuff from 1986. No letters, page 23, 3 pages of story and art in this particular issue. Let me know your thoughts on this one. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.